Sophie Richmond had been such a sickly child. Born with a hole in her heart, the little girl and her family had spent many a sleepless night. Soon it became apparent that the only thing to soothe the child was when her grandmother would play the violin for her. It was clear from an early age that little Sophie was fascinated by the instrument. Its sweet tones helped her through everything from major operations to bad nights. It was, of course, all due to the ferocity and skill of her grandmother that she brought to the instrument. Sophie's gran, Margaret, had been a well-known violinist in her day, the first chair, or concertmaster, with the Philharmonic Orchestra. Margaret had toured the world, played concerts and solos. She'd even played at her own and her daughter's weddings. Her love of playing had, however, died along with her husband, her beloved Mark. He had been her senior by almost 20 years, and she had fallen for him at the tender age of 17, when he was a conductor of the orchestra, but he had been elusive for a long time. When she had become the first chair at just 21, they had been drawn closer together as they worked side by side. They had had a whirlwind romance and were wed soon after. After Mark's death, Margaret had had little reason to play anymore. The passion had gone. That was until her granddaughter had come along. In the early days, when they didn't know if the little girl would survive, Margaret and her family were willing to try anything to ease and comfort the child. And when she first played her violin for the first time in years, her granddaughter had simply stared at her in wonder. And then she had laughed a joyous laugh, and so Margaret had kept playing for her ever since. The years flew by, and Sophie had been drawn to the instrument and began playing from the moment she could hold the bow. Her grandmother's lessons lit a fire in her, and she in return had reignited the passion in her nan. The grandmother and her granddaughter were united in their love for playing. Sophie was still a delicate girl, but when she played, it was like she were an Amazon, strong, determined and brave. She took part in numerous competitions over the years and won many of them. Her parents were fully supportive of her passion and the confidence it gave her. They brought Sophie her own violin for her 12th birthday. They were a happy, content, loving family. When Margaret first became ill, she put it down to nothing more than a cold. But when her condition worsened, it took all of her daughter's power to persuade her to talk her into getting a checkup. The oncologist consultant revealed it was terminal cancer, which was, of course, a devastating blow to the family. Sophie's parents decided not to tell their daughter right away. She'd been moved up to the teenage group in competition, and she had a lot to contend with. Not to mention that they were worried her heart couldn't take it. Sophie had been chosen to play a mini solo concert at one of the large music halls, having been recognised as an up-and-coming star. It was the opportunity she had worked so hard for, the chance for her to shine but it also put a lot of pressure on the girl. She really wanted to play the Four Seasons, her grandmother's favourite piece. Her dream was to play alongside her grandmother on stage, but she wasn't confident enough, and so it was back to lessons. It didn't take Sophie long to realise that something was different with her grandmother. During practice, she tired quickly, and she seemed weaker somehow. When Sophie confronted her grandmother, the older woman put it down to old age, but the girl knew better. Concerned, she questioned her mum and dad. Eventually, it was her mother who broke down and told her the terrible news of her grandmother's condition. Heartbroken, Sophie vowed to master the Four Seasons concertos so she could play them for her nan at the concert. For Sophie's 14th birthday, her grandmother presented her with a beautiful golden necklace with a violin pendant. On the back were inscribed the words, "For the strongest heart I know." It made the girl's resolve all the stronger. When she wasn't visiting with her nan, Sophie confined herself to her room in order to master the concertos in time. She told the sponsors of her concert of her grandmother's illness and begged them to please let her dedicate it all to her nan. Not only did the sponsors agree to it all, but they did everything possible to help. It was 2 weeks before Sophie's concert. Her grandmother took a bad turn and was rushed into hospital. The painful truth hit Sophie hard. Her grandmother wouldn't be able to attend the concert she had dedicated to her. She might not be around to see it at all. Sophie's parents wanted to postpone the whole thing, but her grandmother begged Sophie to continue, so she carried on with a heavy heart. In light of Margaret's deterioration in her condition, the sponsors and the crew brought the concert forward a few days. Because the lady in question couldn't attend in person, they set up a laptop computer with a live feed in her hospital room and another on the stage where their granddaughter would be playing, so Margaret could have a virtual front seat. Sophie's mum stayed with her gran while Sophie's proud father attended her performance. The young Vincenzo stepped onto the stage, carrying her grandmother's violin. "This concert is dedicated to my grandmother, my teacher, my mentor, my friend, the person that played for me when I was ill, sad and at my lowest. Now I'll play for her. I know you're listening, Nan." Sophie looked directly into the camera. The girl brought down the bow on the strings and began to play. Behind her, photos of her grandmother throughout the years appeared on the walls. On many, she was playing the very violin her granddaughter now expertly and lovingly held. In her hospital bed, Margaret's eyes brimmed with tears. She held her daughter's hand while they watched her granddaughter perform. Near the end of the concert, Sophie spoke again. "I really wanted to play these next pieces side by side with my grandmother, but it was not to be. And so my sponsors have helped me to find the next best thing. I love you, Nan. I hope I do you proud." The girl took up her bow once more and began to play the first of the 4 seasons. Behind her, an old recording of her grandmother playing the same appeared. The two played alongside each other in perfect harmony. Margaret wept. She would have loved dearly to play on the stage alongside her granddaughter. They had played together many times, but never on the stage. And now it was like she'd gone back in time, watching her younger self and her protégé. Seeing the once sickly little girl standing strong in the spotlight, playing from her heart, filled her with joy. Margaret closed her eyes and let the music fill her. She was back in the Philharmonic Orchestra with her darling Mark conducting. She smiled at him. "Our granddaughter's going to be a star," she told him. He laughed. "She already is. She takes after you." Margaret died peacefully with a smile on her face, listening to her granddaughter's perfect rendition of the 4 seasons.